so they're diversifying into banking. You know, you've said it on the show so many times. The first number one way to control the planet or control everything is control the money, and that's control the banks. So that's always number one. The other factor, there's another factor that was discussed at the meeting in Greece, and that is something that no one's talking about. And me and a buddy of mine knew about this 4 years ago, and we've been really heavily invested in this. Water.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you notice European and other companies will pay 10, 15 times what reservoirs and aquifers are worth. They are grabbing it all up, aren't they?
Yes. Water is the next oil. Because if you control the water supply and the water flows, you have even more control than you do with oil.
Well, here's an example. Boone Pickens doesn't want to put air systems, the windmills, up in the panhandle of Texas to actually create energy, because the lines have to be run so far that you lose the power through the lines. So if you do the equations, it's not going to make money. It's not going to supply any power with the wind energy. But the biggest aquifer in the U.S. is right there. And if you read the deals he signed, it's really all about getting control of that ocean of water that's as big as the state of Texas.
Correct. And it's very interesting when the last James Bond movie was all about this great, wonderful, quote, environmentalist, who in fact was the evil villain trying to control the water. I think it was Bolivia or something in the movie. But believe me, when you watch movies, Hollywood is used categorically, and this has been documented throughout history, as the way to begin to desensitize people to different concepts. I mean, do you remember back in the old days, a guy would be at a firing squad, and they would say, and this is a black and white movie, they would say, do you have any last requests? Yeah, I want a cigarette. Wait a minute, a cigarette is your last request?
That was programming, product placement for a cigarette.
Of course. I mean, okay, Alex, what's your last request? It's probably not going to be a cigarette.
Well, what do you want after sex in all the movies? They want a cigarette. I mean, that's like Edward Bernays was paid to say bacon had to go with eggs in the morning. Nobody ate bacon. It was kind of like a junk thing used for cooking and stews.
Exactly.
But now,
exactly. And cognac. Cognac is from the grape skins that they threw away.
Exactly. So they create markets. They create markets. You know, Kevin Trudeau. So you're hanging out with Bilderberg. So who's coming after you here in the States? The bigger special interests, the drug companies that don't want you exposing them?
Yeah, well, when I wrote the book Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About, I was the first guy to say something, which is heresy. I said drug companies don't want to cure disease. All they want to do is sell drugs. Drug companies are publicly traded corporations who the officers and directors have a legal responsibility, a fiduciary legal responsibility to increase shareholder value. If a drug company's goal was to eliminate all disease, they'd all be bankrupt. And I pointed that out. And I pointed that out that they're publicly traded companies. They have to increase drug usage per person. They want more people taking more drugs on a regular basis. They do not want to cure disease. And when I said that, I was attacked by everybody, and the attacks actually helped make the book. You know, right now that particular book has sold over 25 million copies in hardcover.
Yeah, so the attacks are actually helping you. And, you know, I called you Michael Trudeau earlier because we used to have a sales manager at the network named Michael Trudeau, who was who was a huge fan of you. Again, we got Kevin Trudeau on the line with us. Just amazing. Plug some of the websites. Where do people get these books? I mean, is there a central clearinghouse where people can find?
I have an online store at naturalcures.com, and naturalcures.com is a website. I actually sold it for several $100 million a couple of years ago, and I took it back because I really want to take that website and make it the ultimate source of natural health information in the world. It's already one of the most visited natural health sites in the world. But naturalcures.com, people can go to. They can get my books at discounts. They can also become a member of that website. We also have globalinformationnetwork.com, which is a new site that's basically is launching in the fall, and it's going to be giving information to people who are members from my associates from all the, quote, secret societies.
Oh, so you're gonna start leaking all the info, and they don't care because they think we're all mindless slaves anyways, and it's part of the conditioning process.
Correct.
Now, when we come back, is there anything they're scared of?
I'll tell you, yes.
Kevin Trudeau is our guest, naturalcures.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Trudeau, joining us from Germany, has agreed to do 20 more minutes with us into the next hour. He said he'd do even more, but I don't want to twist his arm. And just to find out, he really does know the show. He really does listen. Kevin Trudeau, how often do you listen to this radio show, and how long?
Well, I listen to it. I travel all over the world, so that with the different time zones. But it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy for me. I just go online and click INFOWARS.com. I'm also a member of PrisonPlanet.tv, so I can see your good-looking mug there with your HD. You know,
you are something else. Now, I haven't read all your books, but I remember listeners sent me a mailing you did about one of your books about how you got recruited into the Brotherhood, didn't know it was a sellout at first, but got out of it. So you're somebody that was in the group, out of the group. And people don't believe this, but I mean, you're a guy that makes billions a year. They better. I have been approached by these groups too, and then people just can't believe it because they're living in la-la land. We're living in the real world, Kevin. But
yeah, it's hard for the average person to grasp this, and here's what I think it's hard to everyone listening. It's hard for you to grasp this. When the number one motivator of the average person is money. Now, some people say it's sex. That's true, but it's generally money. So money is the number one motivator. If you look in prisons today, 90% of the people in jail are there because of a money-related crime. They were trying to sell drugs, they robbed the bank, they mugged somebody, bank fraud, wire fraud. It's all about wanting money illegally. That's why people are in jail. It's the number one motivator, money, okay? Most people grasp that. But when you talk about the elite class and you say they want control, they want this, the general consensus from the average guy in the street is, that doesn't make any sense to me. They have all the money in the world. Why would they do this? And this is what nobody can understand, because you don't have all the money in the world. When you have all the money you need or want, the motivation then is power.
Well, power brings money. Power brings sex. It brings it all.
Right, but power supersedes the motivation for money. It's power and control, which is why somebody who becomes incredibly wealthy gets what they want to do next. I want to get into politics. They want to start controlling things. So it's about control, and there's another thing that happens at the top level, and that's weird sexual deviations. Because people need some type of stimulation. And again, I physically have been around groups, and I've seen things. That you had the amazing experience of going to Bohemian Grove. I saw your video. So, I mean, you were there, right?
Absolutely. And that's what's strange is that, go back to the Romans or the Aztecs, they're always a bunch of wild perverts.
Correct. So you were physically there. You had an experience that nobody could really grasp. You saw it with your own eyes, and I watched that DVD that you did, that documentary. It was extremely well done, and it gave, just an insight that people maybe have a hard time grasping. And
I was only in there for 4 hours and hiding out. The Vanity Fair guy got in and got arrested, but not before he admitted, oh yeah, the Christian conservatives are having homosexual orgies, but he says, oh, it's no big deal. The point is every time somebody claims they're a conservative, it's actually the opposite. I don't know. It's just so bizarre how weird these people are.
Well, it's very strange, and I think that people listening need to know, I think from an economic standpoint, we have this huge tsunami coming. It's a huge hurricane. It is going to hit. People are going to be affected. Forget what you listen to on the news. It's going to get economically worse. Taxes are going up. Your income is going down. Fees are going up. There will be inflation to some degree. There will be inflation.
What about revolution when we come back? I mean, people are going to rebel as they raise taxes. Like, my property tax has gone up and my house value has gone down. We're going to come back in 70 seconds for 20 more minutes with Mr. Trudeau. The website is naturalcures.com. What's the site to get the financial books?
That's at globalinformationnetwork.com.
Globalinformationnetwork.com. With our source inside the Bilderberg Group. He's Kevin Trudeau. I tell you, truth is stranger than fiction, folks. Ha ha!